Hi there, welcome to the Kenny Veach Cave mystery. Just recently, there was supposedly a strange sighting caught on camera within SB Vegas Adventures hike when locating Kenny Veach. Now, whilst SB was out there searching, he did mention if you do see anything, leave a comment, raise the awareness. It just so happened that whilst SB wasn't aware at the time, a fellow hiker, key individual known as Jeff Clark, noticed some unusual movement underneath a big rock or a boulder. What I want to do today is present to you the footage in which it appears under the rock, moving, try and figure out what it really is, and see if it has any links to other ongoing strange events out there. Without further ado, let's see the clip.
Leaving no stone unturned, no matter how big it is. We're not gonna turn over this big stone, but we can look underneath it and see if there's anything under there. See anything? I'm not gonna bend over and look. Kenny Veach under there? I doubt it.
Did you see that strange movement underneath the rock? What do you think it is? Now I'm going to share my thoughts very shortly, but in case you didn't quite see it, I'll replay the clip back to you. Try and zoom in, slow it down a bit.
But we can look underneath it and see if there's anything under there.
See anything? I'm not going to bend over and look.
One key thing to acknowledge from that piece of footage is the fact that SB is quite hands-on when he's out there, but also documents it too, because he himself is very aware that whilst you can be out there physically, you might not see everything or take it all in. It's afterwards when reviewing the footage or when others do that. That's been, demonstrated in the past. So it was interesting how Jeff Clark was able to zone in on that moving object underneath the rock. But what is it really? Well, in my opinion, it does actually share similar links with the reptilian eye at the M Cave keyhole site, which some of you may not be quite familiar with if you're new to the channel, but it's basically the area of once you go past the mine shaft, okay? So within the hike of SBs, once you go past the mine shaft, you go over Wild Horse Pass, then you take a left turn, and then you head towards Picture Canyon, the hike that Kenny Veach did. Before you reach Picture Canyon, on the sides of the rock walls down the canyon, you do have, on the right-hand side, a series of shallow caves, one of which looks like an M-shaped one, another being a covered up M-shaped cave, and then kind of like in between it, you've got a shallow one which just has a hole at the back rock wall. You might be wondering, how does that link to this? What, does it mean it's a reptilian eye? There is some kind of creature out there lurking about, stalking people, and that's what links to those weird sounds and footsteps, whether that be in Kenny's footage, or if J. Chuck experienced it, or SB, more so Sean Horlacker. Does it all link together? Not exactly. I'm going to make more sense of it right now. So one thing I wanted to do is just start off with this image still screenshot before we get up close, just to analyse the area in general, just in case there was anything else present. Because what's happened within this case, if there is supposedly unusual activity, something strange caught on camera, then it can link to other things happening within the area, such as the key hotspot of the collection of M-shaped caves. Now, I may be a little bit rusty here because I've not seen, the footage of the area in a while. So apologies in advance, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is it further up where Wild Horse Pass is? Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that Wild Horse Pass over there? If not, it doesn't matter too much because we're just focusing in this particular spot. You see like a gravelled pathway, but not like a man-made one. The collection of rocks, boulders, which may or may not have come from higher elevations if they've broken with time. And that's a little reference as well to the key hotspot area where those collection of M-shaped caves are and the supposed covered up one, because Sean Horlacker was referencing that maybe some rocks were broken off the rock wall and then used, repositioned to cover up an area. But then again, if this is the area I'm thinking of, correct me if I'm wrong once again, but if over there is on the other side where you get those canyons, the one that really Robin did, the one that Jeff Clark finally found, well, that canyon just so happened to have a weird shaped tanned colour rock, which had a slab rock on top of it. But then nearby, there was like a collection of other rocks which must have rolled on down. And some people were thinking maybe a rock was replaced from the other because the other one had a symbol on which translated to the letter M, as in M cave, and the other one may have been disposed of or hidden. More so for Jeff Claw, whilst confirming the area was found and it was the correct spot, the gravel was missing. So kind of like what you see here, apologies, give me a second, kind of what you see here, there was like a build-up, a collection of it, which was on the other side of the rocks, down a canyon, well, coming up towards a canyon, and it was underneath one of the rocks, you know, piled. And it looks like it's been washed away, but there was a lot of it to be washed away, and there was no traces of it nearby. So that's kind of a mystery in itself. So whilst we're in a different part of the hike route, or one of the hikes, the environment, the links remind me of other mysteries and ongoing things. So I just wanted to give you a little heads up there in case you weren't aware of that type of stuff. And you can always check back to my channel where the videos are there documented for reference. But what we need to do, we need to look up close. If there's anything that you see that looks out of the ordinary, it could be anything, as crazy as it is, whether it's something hiding behind a rock, hiding behind vegetation. On the mountaintops, you see a figure, you see a creature, you can always leave your comments down below, because who knows what's out there. The good thing is with Vega's adventures, you know, he's quite open, in which he acknowledges this and that and the endless possibilities, because whilst other people can brush it aside, some key things along the way could be ignored. But if we look at it all over time, who knows what may show up. So I'm just going to zoom in briefly. I don't know what device it was I was using in the past, but I had a magnifying glass. Do you remember that? I'm not sure if that's available on Apple. I don't think it is. I'll have to look into it sometime. We can still zoom in as we are right now. It's not an issue, to be fair. So it tells me there probably is a magnifying glass on this device, because when I covered the Dylan Rounds case, I was using an iPhone. What we'll do though, we'll get to the editing process just to enhance the image once we get down there. Oops, I forgot that was another feature where you can cut out objects. So to me, not much seems to stand out here. You got to take in mind, whilst SB is being out there, the more times he's out there, the higher the chances that something may be caught on camera or a strange experience occurs. And what SB has encountered in the past was technical difficulties with like equipment, cameras and stuff when going near to mine shafts. Same exact situation with Jeff Claw, with the lights just randomly turning off, unexplained events. So, you know, the more that goes on, your senses are heightened, increased, because of the endless possibilities there. And I think SB said he heard sounds, voices or footsteps in a past hike. And that's the same with J Chuck too. A lot of creepy activity going on. The real question is, did Kenny Veach ever come across any of that? Because whilst he may say he likes the outdoors and hiking about and he's been here before, well, what happened on his final hike? Did any of those creepy mysteries catch up with him? And we're seeing essences of it till this day. It makes you think. Now, the rock itself isn't that unusual. First of all, I can't see any strange patterns or markings to indicate anything. It does look like it's broken away. A bit faded in some areas, but mainly dark rock. That's pretty much it. Nothing that significant. Got to take into consideration as well, by the side of it, you got, is it a sagebrush, some kind of vegetation, kind of thick and dry, up against the rock. So could the roots go underneath it? That's a possibility. Could that be the reason for what we're seeing on camera? So here we are, down ground level, looking underneath the gap. You could argue and say, if it was anything truly strange, why would it be here? Because it's in a spot where you probably wouldn't expect or search. But when you're SB Vega's adventures, and with all the stuff in the past and the experience, you'll check key areas and things that may stand out to you. So credit to SB for doing that. It does make it a lot easier for everybody else, you know, listening in and trying to observe what's going on. So the rock appears basically natural, no issues there. But you can see the roots on the right hand side that go into the ground, and there's some like bristles, bits that flick off just towards the left area. So could any of those bits of vegetation be responsible? Now in this shot, this still frame, you can't quite see it. I believe it's probably that there, and we can enhance it. I've got a few extra slides in case you were interested. because it does move. The motion of it is back, forth, either like a swing motion, or if someone was caught, or like anything was caught within a cobweb, you know, as the wind blows and it goes back and forth like waves or wobbles. And take in consideration, if there is a bit of a breeze, even a light one out there, and as wind passes underneath, it can cause movement. So it's worth taking that into perspective. It becomes a lot more clearer now. Is there any possibilities it's a spider? For me, it's going to be either a spider or something caught up within a possible web, some kind of vegetation, dust or dirt that's collected. And that's what reminds me of the keyhole situation in the past, where at first, with the camera and the lack of focus from Sean Horlacher when crouching down, the movement of it made it seem like it moved itself, but more so that it aligned with a hole, so it made it look more like an eye obstructing the view or peering out. Whereas here, it's not exactly a full object, really, but you can still make out something and the movement too. So it's interesting how Jeff Clark did see that, but I'm sure there might be other people with time that do. I said, are we going to be looking for any bones, any like burials, possibilities of Kenny underneath a rock? Well, that's what SB acknowledged, but felt this probably wasn't the spot. Me personally, I don't think Kenny Veach is in this spot, like underneath the rock or buried anyway, because, you know, the length of time that rock's been there for probably quite some time. But furthermore, you know, if you were walking down this pathway and you see that rock there to the left, there's many of them, that even if it came rolling or tumbling down, I'm sure Kenny would be pretty obvious and aware that the dangers that may, you know, come his direction. If you were closer to a rock wall down a narrow canyon and there was some like cave in, if you was going into a cave or a tunnel or a mine shaft, a fill in, even if there was like a big boulder that was loose and it just dropped on top of you and you down a canyon near to a rock wall, that would make more sense because it can be so sudden and unexpected. If you're in an open pathway like this, whilst there are dangers still around you, you got a better peripheral vision, you'll be able to see more and hear more, hopefully, providing it's like somewhat daylight afternoon. So I don't think Kenny would have been buried under a boulder or rock like that in this particular environment. But could there be anything else as an alternative theory? Any equipment, any spy devices? And you might be thinking, why? Well, first of all, because it's in an area you wouldn't expect to search, but it can, you know, pick up any movement nearby because you see the gap. If there was a camera fitted underneath there, whether that be a trail camera or another device implemented by another hiker, a rogue one, or Kenny Veach, or someone just after Kenny Veach's disappearance, who knows? It's endless, the ideas, because of all the wacky stuff that has happened within this case. And those that don't know, be sure to do research, check the playlist out, because there's all kinds of weird things that have happened out there, such as with Jeff Clark, lost time when hiking about, getting zapped, feeling vibrations, just like how Kenny Veach did in a completely different area. So if there are devices out there which you think is a possibility to cause some of those experiences, could it be in this area in particular? As a question towards SB Vega's adventures, when you were within this area roughly, walking by, walking past, did you hear, did you see, did you feel anything? Did the atmosphere change, or was it relatively normal in this particular hike? And if you have walked past this area before in the past, was it any different from then till now? Feel free to leave a comment down below. So you get the idea. You can see the movement in a way if you used to replay the video back. There appears to be some strands of vegetation which may have broken on off from here. Same type of material, colour. Appears to be vegetation and that there. Does not look like a camera in my opinion, but you never know. In another area, another environment, there could be something. Whether that be military, whether it be by the general public, the DNWR for whatever reason. But even if it was a spider, could still prove dangerous towards someone, depending what type it is, and if it's venomous or not. But for those that are interested in possible editing, if I'm able to, I can zoom on in, just about here, and I can just change the tone of it, just to make it a bit clearer for you. This is what the great thing is about the editing part. You see a cave, you see a hole, maybe a flashlight wasn't used at the time. You enhance the image, you can make it brighter and clearer and reveal what's within. It's not about manipulating it to make it appear as something else when it's not, but it's about just making it stand out a little bit more. That's all I really do. Shadows. We go back and forth. There we go. Contrast. Personally, it doesn't look like a spider, but it could be a cobweb which vegetation is trapped within. But be sure to let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I am aware that some people may say, you know, we don't need to go into this much depth, but just know, I do treat everything or most of the events with a level of seriousness. It's not like I'm putting all the focus here and then when it comes to something important I'm neglecting. No, I'm trying to be, you know, following formal procedures as usual. Maybe a little bit more now with more experience when covering a range of different cases and trying to acknowledge different points. Is there any more settings to really adjust? Not really. So we'll just leave it there. Obviously it makes everything else a bit too bright, but it makes that stand out more. So what you see in the center of the screen is what we're seeing moving back and forth in the footage. And the more you look at it, maybe the less it looks to be a camera, the less it looks to be a weird creature, you know, spying on someone. I think it's just simply vegetation. But nevertheless, this is where it links on with the keyhole concept. Now, just to re-jog people's minds, here is a clip of it. Hopefully you were able to see that too and kind of the similarities between both of them. That whilst yes, one had a hole, the other one doesn't, and it's just hanging under a rock. It's the fact that it's near to rocks, it's near to vegetation. You see the link and the possibilities as it being simple vegetation caught up with maybe within a web, or even maybe an insect, which some people suggested. The hole in the rock wall people were saying it's like bees that chew into it, but my interest would be, how deep does it go into what? How deep is it? Could you fit a little snake camera in there, a torch? And I believe a range of people had gone up to it, but I don't know if anyone stuck their finger into it. And I wouldn't blame anyone if they didn't, because if it was caused by bees, if there was a nest nearby or within, you could harm it. Well, not harm it, harm yourself, put yourself in danger. So I do understand the risk and precautions, but still, from that keyhole scenario back then in 2020 or 21, I think it was. Oh, no, I don't think it was. Apologies, it was 2016, I believe, on a part 2 video by Sean Horlacker, and it was noticed years later when it became more well known. That was quite interesting. But, you know, the more you looked at it, and it took time to see it from all perspectives, is that I saw like a little strand going down, and it just so happened to be in line right where the hole was, but in front. And so far up that strand, whether it be a cobweb or whatnot, was either like a little insect or more so vegetation caught up, kind of like how it is with Under That Rock from SB's video. The only difference is the movement. From SB's, it's natural movement because of the wind blowing whatever that's caught. In terms of the keyhole, it's more so probably by when Sean dips down, camera pans up, aligns it with whatever is on that strand in line with the hole to make it look like an obstruction. That's when it is peering through the hole. And then when you move again, or you know, stand back up, or the camera moves, then it becomes out of sight and not in view of that hole. So it looks like it's just hid. But it's just one of those like psychological things where it's the depth of field, the perspective, the focus of the camera, the movement and everything. But it was still interesting to see SB's video. And don't wait, that's just a little part from SB's hike video. There's supposedly more interesting things within, but I just wanted to break it down bit by bit. Depending what order I do it in, we can definitely look at a supposed collapsed mine shaft too. Do a map analysis if you're interested in it. If you do want to catch up on recent videos, eye symbol up there, top right corner of the screen. If you simply want to catch up on the playlist of Kenny Veach, all the videos that I've done, I think I'm at 400 videos now, or just over. The playlist will be available up there. Just make sure to leave a comment, drop a comment down below under this video to let me know what you think, with endless possibilities. If there's anything else you saw within this video, within the screenshots, leave a timestamp and we can always go back over it. You'll also find a pinned comment by me with additional links if you do want to support this channel. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Feel free to like and share the video to spread that awareness to help keep the case alive. One thing that is a fact for, I don't know, some years now, Jeff Clark, SB, have kind of single-handedly, individually, kept this case alive, which is obviously good to see. And there might be waves of more people coming on in now because of other bigger channels covering it here and there. But, you know, we'll just see how things go. Thanks for watching anyway. I might do a video later to do with another case. We'll just see. But yeah, goodbye for now.